Hey everyone, you all are welcome to the second day of Open Source Drive of ABES organized by Geeks for Geeks student chapter. So, as promised, today we have two past GSOC students and open source contributors from Fedora and FreeBSD with us. They both are from JIIT College. I hope that you all will have a great experience and you all are surely going to enjoy the session. Over to you guys for the further session.
So we're here for talk about open source. So what's open source? So अगर तुम लोग generally if you see कि open source क्या है तो generally definition आती है कि computer software whose source code is available and you can change and improve upon it and generally work on it. But I'd argue it's like much more than that. It's mostly about collaborating with people and working together in a huge community to make software. So a lot of software you work on, and I guess I'd argue like most of the software the applications are built on is open source software. It's a software you can use freely and build upon, rather than you have to pay and ask for someone to actually build using, which would not have been possible in a proprietary world. So open source is very integral to the tech boom, I'd argue, that we had post 2005, I guess. So open source is a very integral part of the world. You use Chromium, you're using Firefox, you write code in C, you watch movies in VLC, you might use Linux, or you use Android phones, so the Android kernel is built on Linux. So a lot of the world is dependent upon open source software. So it's very imperative that there is a culture inculcated that propagates that software and works on it. So now Uncle will tell why you should contribute to open source.
So as Divyan said that most of the software is dependent on open source. Like if you talk about the supercomputers and the servers, so most of the servers run on Linux. So it's open source and the people who contribute to it do it for free. So the question arises, why you want to contribute to open source? What are the benefits of contributing to open source? Or in general, the people who are contributing to open source, why they are doing so when there are no monetary benefits? So let's discuss about it. So first thing, improve your coding skills. So the main benefit of contributing to open source is you get to work with the real world software which is used by millions of people. If like you are contributing to Linux, so like most of the servers in the world are dependent on Linux. So if you are making a small change, this will affect all the computers in the world. So that's a great deal. Okay. Then opportunity to work with established and recognized programmers. If you are contributing to Linux or VLC media player, you will get a chance to work with, maybe you can get a chance to work with the founder of Linux, like Linus Torvald. Like I got the opportunity to talk to the founder of VLC, Jean Baptiste. So they are very supporting and they are very helpful if you ask for any help. And they are very welcoming. If you want to contribute, they are very welcoming because they want people to contribute now. Then gain feedback from accomplished programmers. So they are very helpful, as I said, and they are very helpful in giving you constructive feedback. So if you are doing anything wrong, they will tell you how you can improve it and will give you a very valuable feedback because of their experience. Next we come to gain early experience. Like you are in colleges right now, so you don't get any chance to work with real world application. So by contributing to open source, you get a great chance to get to work with established people, और जो काम आप कर रहे हो वो बहुत सारे लोग उस पर डिपेंडेंट है, मतलब उस सॉफ्टवेयर पे डिपेंड करते हैं. तो अगर इफ यू आर मेकिंग अ स्मॉल चेंज, इट विल हैव अ वेरी ह्यूज इम्पैक्ट. Also, if you are working on an open source project, so you get a early experience with communicating with others, how to communicate in mailing list, how to talk to others, and how to ask good questions. Like अगर तुम्हें कुछ प्रॉब्लम आ रही है तो तुम क्वेश्चन कैसे पूछोगे? तो as everyone's time is very important, and the people who are contributing to open source, they do it for free. Most of the people do it for free. So you should know that their time is very valuable. तो उनसे बात कैसे करनी है और उनके साथ कंट्रीब्यूट कैसे करना है, ये आपको सीखने के लिए मिलता है, जो फ्यूचर में इफ यू आर डूइंग अ जॉब तो बहुत काम आता है. Other reasons, giving back to the community. Yeah, like you are using the free software, but you don't know about them. So it's a great opportunity to give back to the community the skills you have learned. You got to network with experienced programmers. Yeah, that's a very good point. Opportunity to attend and speak at conferences. Yeah, Divyansh, would you like to add something? Yeah.
So the best thing I find about open source is you can actually talk to anyone that's involved in it, and they'll actually reply and help you. So if I share an experience, so I was stuck on a problem for a very long time. I had to use some function and do something in the Linux kernel, but I was unsure how to do it. So I was stuck on it a long time. I was working on the problem, and then I had an idea. Why don't I just write an email to the guy who wrote the code? So I just wrote the guy an email that I have this problem. I've tried this and did this. So he wrote back to me immediately and helped me, and actually kind of asked me what I'm working on, and also gave very, very valuable feedback. And the guy has been working in the industry for like about 40 years. So it was a very, very enriching experience. It is a very enriching experience contributing to open source. I got to speak in 2 conferences. I got to meet with a lot of people. Amazing people. They've been working at very cool stuff, and it also helps you with internships. If you know people, they know how you work, they know you, they can see your code. A lot of the time this happens that people can't actually see your work, but if your work is in a very huge project, they can see your work, that and they know that you can work. So it's a very good thing to put on a resume and boosts your chances immensely. A lot of I guess this year Google is also Google interns are also contributing to open source instead of working on their projects, in order to boost kind of community projects and show that the importance of open source projects.
So about internship opportunities, so like I have worked with FreeBSG in GSOC. So I got a mail from Texas Instruments, like for if you are available for internship, and I haven't put anything or any resume. So they asked me. So yeah, there's a great chance you get an internship opportunity or other opportunities.
Yeah, because it's if you look at how the experience is valued, because you can learn a lot of stuff on the fly, you can learn languages, but the most important thing is working on real world software and having experience on the code and knowing people that work on the code, because you can directly work in the industry from the get-go. Yeah.
Okay, so now the question arises, how you can contribute to open source. Divyansh?
Yeah. So the major problem people face in contributing to open source is that because there's no set paths to actually contribute to open source, so people get very, very overwhelmed and kind of have analysis paralysis and don't know what to do next. So unfortunate thing is that we can only talk about our experiences and how we got started maybe, and then you can draw from those experiences and actually learn. So in my case, I stumbled upon my project very accidentally. I was learning Go because I had to build something. I had an idea. I had to build something for my college. So I was looking into security and stuff. So I came across a project that was actually doing the thing I was looking for. So I wrote the guy who was mentoring, and I messaged on IRC that is that the project, and this sounds cool. So I made the I talked to the guy, and I thought that why not I tried to write it. So I ended up writing a kind of MVP overnight and sending it to the guy. So he said that yeah, this is the project you're looking for, and if you want you can apply to Google Summer of Code and we can work on it. So then I applied to Google Summer of Code, and I worked on PRs, and the most important thing I found while working was communication, because you can I said earlier that you can learn things, but it's very hard to learn how to communicate with people and actually know when to communicate, because you can get stuck for a long time and not know how to move forward. So it's very important that you write email to the person you want to talk to, and he can help you. But there also a problem arises there, because it's very easy to badger the person you're writing an email. So it's very imperative to maintain good communication practices to the people you're writing email to. So you can actually look at some resources that can help in that and know how to communicate. So the major points I would like to impart is that communication is the key, and you have to be consistent without contributing to open source. Other than that, you can always just go to the repository and start with the small stuff. You can look at, if you don't understand the code base, it's very natural to not understand the code base. It's a very complex piece of software that has taken around 3+ years to get completed, a lot of years to get completed, and you won't understand overnight. So either you can try looking at an issue, a very basic issue, and trying to make sense of it, and then ask question. After making sense, after trying your best, and then ask question that how do I move forward? I'm stuck here. So people will help you. If you're doing something wrong, they'll tell you that you're doing this wrong, and you can check this out, and you can improve this. So that's the best part. It's an open field, and nobody's competing with anyone. You're all working together. Yeah, I guess Ankur will.
Yeah, so I will share my experience. So last December I was working on kernel. I was learning about kernels, Linux kernels. So I came to know about a project under FreeBSD organizations. It was about eBPF. So I have heard about eBPF, and I've heard that it's gaining attraction and is a very new technology, and a lot of people are interested in it, and it's have a great potential in future. So I started exploring about it. Then when I saw the project, I was not comfortable about, like, I was not able to grasp the actual meaning of the project. Like, I was not able to know what is project want to say. So I searched about it, and then for a month I researched a lot about it and learned a lot of new things. And then as Divyansh said, communication. So I communicated it to my mentor, and he replied immediately that day only. And he proposed me, like, this project would be a little large for Google Summer of Code, and we can divide it into small parts. So that's how I got into Google Summer of Code. And main thing is, like, people got stuck, like how they will start. So if you are using any software, that's the best way you want to contribute to. Like if you are using VLC media player and you think something is off or something can be improved, so that's a very good way you can contribute to it. And if you don't know, like if it's open source, you can always check. And you can also, like if you're comfortable in Python or C++, then go and search for the organizations who mainly work with these tools, and then you can easily contribute to them. Like इन स्टार्टिंग यू विल फील लाइक कि ये बहुत मुश्किल है और कोड बेस पूरा समझ नहीं आ रहा, तो फिर पूरे कोड बेस पे तुम्हें कंट्रीब्यूट करना भी नहीं है, क्योंकि डेकेड्स लग जाते हैं कोई सॉफ्टवेयर को बनने में। तो किसी एक पार्ट पे कंट्रीब्यूट करना है, तो बस जिस पार्ट में कंट्रीब्यूट करना है उसको एक बार पढ़ लो, समझ नहीं आएगा पहली बार में, और फिर देखो कि ये प्रोजेक्ट क्या कह रहा है, व्हाट इट्स ट्राइंग टू से, और फिर उसके बारे में एक एक वर्ड के बारे में सर्च करो नेट पे, और फिर धीरे धीरे करके समझ आएगा। मतलब ऐसा होता है कि पहली बार देख के ओवरवेलमिंग लगता है कि ये क्या है, क्या लिखा हुआ है। तो वैसे ही थोड़ा थोड़ा करके सर्च करके, और फिर ओपन सोर्स कम्युनिटी इज वेरी वेलकमिंग, दे विल हेल्प यू एनी टाइम, लाइक सो यू नीड टू नो दैट देयर टाइम इज आल्सो वैल्यूएबल। तो मतलब कम्युनिकेट करना है तो थोड़े इंटरवल में करो और रिसर्च करके करो, तो काफ़ी हेल्पफुल है कम्युनिटी। तो ऐसे आप स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं। तो और ओपन सोर्स को थोड़ा इजी कंट्रीब्यूट करने के लिए काफ़ी प्रोग्राम्स हैं, तो वी विल डिस्कस अबाउट देम आल्सो।
एक पॉइंट I'd like to add. Generally, a lot of repositories that are there on GitHub or GitLab, they have a good first issue. So it पहली बार देख के लगता है कि ये गुड फर्स्ट इशू तो बहुत ही बेसिक है, लाइक बहुत ज़्यादा, तो बट इट अगर एक बार गुड फर्स्ट इशू में कंट्रीब्यूट कर लिया, then you can take up any issue that's like moderately hard, and if you don't understand it, I'd recommend you go into the previous commits and the nature of the pull requests that have been made before you, because there's a very high chance that someone has worked on something that's similar to what you're working on, and you can actually look where the guy actually changed a piece of code, because it's very hard to actually find where you have to change in a lot of cases, because you don't know what the code is about. So you can actually look at the previous pull requests and issues and commits and get to know how did this guy change it, and you can read the commit messages. Commit messages are usually very well maintained, not very maintained, but written very well to explain to you what the code is about, and there are good comments. So the best advice is to communicate and get started, because there's a huge initial fear in getting started with open source, because there's a lot of people have imposter syndrome, that they think that they're not good enough, they don't know enough to get started, I need to learn more. But it's very hard to get to the level of the industry veterans. So you need to get started as now, I guess. Yeah, Ankur, you can.
Okay, so let's move to some programs. So these are some open source outreach programs. Let's discuss about them. So Google Summer of Code. So Google Summer of Code is a program sponsored by Google. In it, there are many open source organizations who participate in it, about 100 or so, and every organization have some project in it. So if you want to take part in Google Summer of Code, you can just choose any organization or a project you like, and you will be allotted a mentor who will work with you for 3 months, and Google will sponsor this. Okay, so Divyansh, want to add something?
Yeah, so Google Summer of Code is a very, very good jumping point into contributing to open source, because a lot of times this happens that people start contributing to open source, but they get stuck in very small issues, like fixing the spelling on documentation. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not challenging to work on. But Google Summer of Code gives a good opportunity to work on something of your own and add a very substantial change to the huge software that these guys are working on in Google server in the organizations, and you kind of get into these organizations as an intern. So there's also an added benefit of someone who's actually there to help you. So it's a very, very good opportunity to contribute to open source.
Yeah, I want to make one thing clear, that these programs are not mandatory and you should not aim for it only. Like open source, as its name suggests, is open to all and all time. So you should not focus mainly on Google Summer of Code or all these programs. These are just kickstarters and they will give you a push in the starting, but you can always contribute to open source. And what's the main benefit of Google Summer of Code is they allot mentors to you, so they will be available for you most of the time, 4 to 5 hours a week. And in general, if you are contributing to open source, it's not mandatory that someone will answer you or someone will take your query. So that's the main benefit. But you should not aim for any of these programs, and you should not try to what I would say, crack it. Yeah, they say na.
Yeah,
So-
crack is a very bad rep Google Summer of Code has gotten these years,
Yeah.
because a lot of people try to crack it in air quotes, because it's not really JEE mains or something. You can always contribute to these organizations right now. You can go there and contribute right now. They're looking for contributors. That's why they enroll in Google Summer of Code. But one of the, I guess, sad things is that a lot of people just go there, do the Google Summer of Code thing, and then move on and do other things in their life. But the best people work there constantly and still work there, because these are amazing organizations.
Yeah, it's a great way you can be attached to any organization, but you can always try to contribute anytime. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
one thing I'd also like to add, if you solely focus on Google Summer of Code, then there'll be a point after Google Summer of Code, you'll not know what to do, because it's very hard to then go from having a mentor to not having a mentor and being clueless that what do I do now, because it's a constant journey to work on, to give back to the community and work on something. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Linux kernel mentorship program. Yeah, Divyansh.
Yeah, Linux kernel mentorship program is a really great program introduced by the Linux Foundation a year back. So Linux kernel is opening up to young developers who are interested in working in the Linux kernel. One of the biggest, I guess the biggest open source project, and very significant impact. One of our seniors got selected in this program, and he worked on around 100 drivers for the Linux kernel. I'm not sure about the exact number. So very substantial difference. So he actually got to meet Linus Torvalds in a conference he went to in France. So it's a very good opportunity to actually work in the Linux kernel and get to know how it works.
Yeah, for those who don't know about kernel, so kernel is a part of an operating system. It's very important part of an operating system. So yeah, so all the Linux distros are mainly based on Linux kernel. So that's the common thing among them. And yeah, LKMP gives you a very good opportunity. The chance of getting selected in it is very low, because 4 or 5 students. Divyansh.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 to 5 students worldwide are accepted in it. But as I earlier said, you should not only aim for them, for these programs. You can always contribute to Linux kernel. It is hosted online.
I'd argue it's easier to send up the first patch to the Linux kernel than a lot of softwares, because Linux kernel has a lot of contributors, so they have a really set process in sending your first batch. So if anyone's interested, do have a look on how to contribute. There's a course by the Linux Foundation itself on how to contribute to the Linux kernel. It's a very nice course and it lets you send your first batch. So that's very cool.
Sorry to interrupt. We have a question in chat. Sir, is it mandatory for us to learn Linux for starting open source contribution?
I guess we can take questions after just the last two slides. We only have 2 slides.
Yeah, sure. So you guys may post your questions in the chat section. We will answer after the session, after the presentation ends.
Yeah. So there is a program outreach. This is mainly focused on underrepresented people. So which mainly include women, trans men, and gender queer people. So yeah, it's a great opportunities for them, and it's a internship. Unlike Tomorrow Code, outreach is an internship. So yeah, all the female participants and the underrepresented group, you can surely apply to it.
Yeah, it's a very good opportunity.
So these are open source communities in Delhi NCR. They promote open source. So GODC is the short form for JIT Open Source Developer Circle. It's an open source society of the Institute of Information Technology, Sector 128, and we promote open source and open source culture. Then there is PyDelhi and PyData. They both promote Python, mainly Python, but you can always learn many other things here. ILXD is a India Linux user group, Delhi, and they are mainly focused on Linux, but they promote many other things. No, it's not like that. If it's a Linux user group, so they will only promote Linux. They in general support open source. So in this pandemic, you may not get a chance to attend this, but they organize monthly or bi-weekly meetups. So you should definitely give a go. If you get a chance.
I think they host online talks right now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they are hosting. Yeah, they are hosting online meetup also. So we will put the Telegram link in chat after the session. We forgot about that.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very very good communities that kind of gets you introduced to a lot of things you might not know. So we also went in our first years and second years, went to a lot of these talks and meetups. You meet a lot of really cool people there.
Yeah, I remember ILXD was the place where I installed my first Linux distro. So yeah, after pandemic, you can surely give it a try. Okay, so now we can take Q&A and I can end my casting.
Yeah. So the first question was, is it mandatory for us to learn Linux for starting open source contribution? So not really, because there are a lot of things you can contribute to open source, but generally people prefer to work on Linux because it's easier to work on Linux if you go ahead. But there's no mandatory to use Linux. There's not a mandate to use Linux to contribute to open source. If there's a software you like VLC, if you like VLC, you can always contribute to the Windows version of the VLC or Mac version of the VLC. So it's not really mandatory to use Linux, but it's recommended mostly.
Yeah, it's recommended because the tools available in Linux are very easy to install and they are very coding friendly, I would say, and they are like very easily available, and you don't have to set an environment for it. Like you can use Git and all very easily on Linux. Yeah, that's why we recommend Linux. But people do development in Windows also, so there is no compulsion.
There's also a question, we can get paid opportunity through Outreach.
Yeah, so Outreach is a paid internship. and yeah, it's paid.
Yeah, you
So
can get paid, and then you also get a bit of fund allotted for you to attend conferences. Uh, yeah, so you get around, I don't remember the exact amount, so I guess
but
it ranges between like $3,000 to, I'm not sure, but they give you stipend, yes.
yeah, stipend is there, but yeah, your main focus now should be on learning mainly, because you can always get paid after that when you are doing any internship. Yeah, but it's an internship opportunity, so you should strive for mainly for increasing your skill set. But yeah, they pay. They pay. GSOC also pay, Google Summer of Code also pay, and this.
Yeah, Linux kernel mentorship also pays.
Yeah.
If I want to contribute to any organization using, let's say, Python, so what's the minimum I should know in Python? So, Sarthak, ideally, you don't need to even know Python to go and make a contribution, because there's always documentation and fixing grammatical errors and whatnot. But if you want to get into the deep end, so you I guess, I'm not sure, I don't have any experience, but I can from second hand experience that you can, if you know basic enough Python, and if you know what the issue is about, the issue you're working on is about, you can go ahead and contribute from right now. A couple of people from our developer circle contribute to Dino and Node.js, so they started by working on small stuff, and then they studied and got to know more about the language and worked on it. So you can go and get started right now. Anku, do you have anything to add?
No, that's okay. So, sir, like right now we are in second year. Will it be beneficial for us to start open source contribution at this point of time? Because there are a lot of things for us to start, that is competitive programming and learning DSA. Okay. So, what is competitive? Like you have to manage time now. Competitive programming give you experience with DS and Algo, so they are beneficial for like if you are going to an interview. So that's the first thing most of the companies ask you. So it's important. I would not say like you should leave it. Competitive programming is beneficial, but if you want to uh, work on something and want to contribute to open source, you will need to take some time, I guess. So yeah, that's all. Divyansh, want to add
I'd recommend, if you're in second year, I'd recommend you focus more on contributing to open source, and you can learn data structure side by side. I don't have much experience with it, but from what I've talked to from seniors is that a lot of this time you just have to clear the initial portion, and then if you have a lot of experience in working on open source projects, then it's a really plus point on your resume. Other than that, a lot of internships you can get on open source project. You can actually talk to the people you're going to work under before the internship, and if they know you've worked on the project, they can actually talk to you very informally and see if you can get an internship there. So if you're in second year, I'd recommend you like contribute to open source.
Yeah, you may not get on-campus placement with open source, but definitely off-campus placements are. You can always use your network, and you can show your projects. They are very beneficial. They will be very beneficial for you. So yeah, it's not compulsory to learn competitive like that. No? But yeah, you should have cleared your DSA.
Yeah, theory is very important. Well, if you know computer science, if you're studying computer science, then knowing computer science is very imperative.
Yeah, and right now you are in second year, so I think you have more time than us. So yeah, you can definitely manage it.
Yeah, the early start is very very nice, because you have a lot of time on your hands and you can actually use that.
Yeah.
What is good for third year? Uh, so for third years, I guess you need to work on the data structures algorithm more, and if you have a bit of experience, then also contribute to open source. But the main problem is that we are also in third year, so we don't have much context about that. From what we've heard from seniors, they've mostly contributed to open source and gone ahead and got jobs. But I guess, Ankur, do you have any points?
For third year, I would say, yeah, you can try to improve DSA, and I think you can get some time for open source contribution too. I don't think we are so busy, but yeah, it depends person to person. So don't have any much experience.
If you're in third year, I'd say do what you like. If you like puzzle solving, then go all in on competitive. So if you go all in on something, you will have much more benefits rather than standing in two boats at the same time.
Yeah. Next question. Are there any YouTube channels currently that educate us regarding open source mainly? Okay, so resources about open source and how to contribute to open source are a lot. You will find a lot of resources online. And why only YouTube? You can learn from blogs. You can there are many courses. It's not like what you want to learn like about open source. The main thing is like we have showed you the slides. That's the gist of everything what open source is. So now you should focus more on on what technology or on what project you want to contribute, and try to build a little bit of understanding of the project and a skill set so that you can start contributing to it. And I would recommend you should start making some project. Like if you know a little bit of C or C++ or Python, any language, you should start making some project out of it. In long run, they are very useful. Like for resume, if we say, and for if you are applying for any of these outreach programs, so they will ask you for your past experience. So projects are a very good source to show your skill set and your understanding of anything. So yeah, that's YouTube. You can find many things on YouTube. I don't.
There's not really any like recommended YouTube source. You can generally when people look for content to read about, it's LWN, and it's mostly written material. So, but there's as Ankur said, there's not much to actually read from other than this. You've got the gist. I guess you can actually look for anything you use and you'd like to contribute and get started. The next question is exactly what should be the first step for us to start with the open source contributions. So if you don't have any experience at all and you're not sure that where do I go, so first would be to actually get over that mental block. So I did one thing. I went to a repository. Okay, if you select, I'll get to it. So if you don't have any experience at all, it's very important to get over that mental block of contributing to open source. It sounds like a very big thing. So go ahead and go to a repository called first contributions and just make a very, very small PR there. So it sounds very small, but it's very big in getting you into getting your foot in the door. It's very big in like getting over that mental hurdle. And then I think the first contribution repository also has ways to contribute to other projects. Other than that, you can actually look for more projects you can. One good place would be, I guess, Pause Asia. I'm not sure. Ankur, is Pause Asia a good place to get started?
It's good, but there are many people fighting for PR and all. So yeah, there is very much competition there because the issues there are very beginner friendly. So yeah, that's why. But it's easier to start, I would say. They are very welcoming.
Next question is: suppose I select an organization or project, how shall I start contributing in it?
Yeah, I would.
So,
like to-
yeah, go ahead.
So the main point of selecting organization is solely depend on the skills or why you selected it. The main question is why you selected it in the first place. So there are two things. You are using using their product and you want to make some changes to it. Then you selected the organization or the project. And the other is you know the skill set required for the project. So in the first case, you can always learn about if you are using VLC media player and want to make some contribution to it, so you can always learn about like Qt or their interface. You can learn any technology they are using, and then you can start contributing to it. But the other way, if you have some skill set, if you are using Python or any C language, so you should try to uh, use that skill set, and yeah, that's the main thing which on which it depends or the project depends.
I'll also like to add. So, if you've selected an organization or a project, so a lot of the people face this problem that if you look at the project name, you don't actually realize what it entails. So first thing would be to actually think about what it actually means and what would you have to do. And then a lot of the organizations have a contributing, not MD or get or contribute. So generally they have the first steps as setting up the development environment, and then looking at good first issues to start contributing. So if you don't find any good first issues, if you've actually followed their document, they'd have, like, almost every organization will have a document which will tell you exactly what to do to get started. So if they don't have any document, if you've tried everything in the document, then I suppose it's a good time to contact anyone in the organization and ask them that where can I find any issues, or but again I'll stress on it that you communicate in the right way and be respectful of their time. So if you've looked through their documentation, it's very, very important to read their documentation, and because almost every project has how to contribute as their documentation. So you can start there. So the next question is, if you are contributing for the first time, which would be the better platform for us, GSOC or Outreach or any other? Okay, so if we're competing against GSOC or Outreach, first of all, I guess the bigger platform which has more network effect is Google Summer of Code, but Outreach are more helpful towards you, because
Like
their whole motive is to increase the representation for people.
Yeah, I would say like Outreach is easier to get started. Like the projects there are easier than GitHub, and the competition is not like GSOC, I think. Am I right, Divyansh?
I guess, I'm not sure. From what I've heard, but
Yeah,
again, the thing is, I'd like to stress again that don't think of it as a contribution. If you genuinely like the project and understand and you would like to work on, then it's very fulfilling to work on it. But if you go there just for the sake of the name, then I'll not recommend that. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any question from the
Does
you can directly ask also.
yeah, you can ask about anything. So I guess there are no questions.
Yeah.
So should we end the session?
Jamala.
I guess no one has any queries left.
Yeah, if you still have any queries, you can reach out to us. We can
Like, yeah,
give you an email address and you can write
Like-
an email.
you can share GeoDC link, Telegram link.
Yeah, you can also ask there. Yeah.
Just a moment, I'm sharing now.
You can write an email here to contact. I think this is the link for the Telegram JODC. You can also ask questions.
A person
Yeah.
asked me personally, like, can you please elaborate more about GSOC? Like, what is benefit? How can we, what is the proposal? How can we be there? Be the next GSOC?
Yeah, that sounds very.
That's not a personal question someone asked me.
Yeah, okay. So I guess the flow chart for getting started
Yeah,
in
kind
Google
of
Summer of Code
like-
timeline
Steps.
would be to look at the organizations that are there, then kind of pick out a few organizations that you're interested in. Look at the projects they have, the previous projects they've worked on, and the projects they have. And then if you find a project interesting and you know what the project is about exactly, and you have a bit of experience in contributing to open source, it's recommended to have a little bit of experience working in the organization, so people start contributing to the organization from a very long time ahead of it. So they contribute and then they find a project, they talk to the mentor. So the proposal is mostly, it lists, not lists, but it kind of details what the project is about and how you're going to work on it. And what's the timeline on how you're going to work on it. So it's very important to actually have a chat with the mentor who's mentoring the project before sending in the proposal, because he'll help you a lot. But again, I'm repeating myself, I know, but it's very important to be respectful of their time. So proposal. Hello, am I audible? I think I
Yeah.
can scan.
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay. So the proposal, as I said, details what the project is about and how you're going to work on it. And sometimes the organizations have kind of a template for the proposal. Some organizations actually tell you to post your proposal on their forum or send it to their mailing address, and people actually talk about it. But again, communication is important. The proposal is not the hard part. The hard part is, I guess, selecting the project, because a lot of the project names are filled with jargon for the first timers. So one thing I do on that is I stay on the page for a while and then look at the meaning of each word individually, and then stick on the problem for as long as I can stay there. And then usually something hits and it all makes sense in the end.
Yeah, the main thing for the proposal is you should convince them that you will be able to complete the project. That's the main point. Like, how will you do it, MVP or anything. You should be able to communicate how you will be doing the project.
Okay, so
Thank you for having us.
for joining
Yeah.
the workshop.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for inviting us.
That's it for today's workshop.